Hello my dear viewers, and during this video we're going to be working on a little skyline drawing.
Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well, and thank you for tuning into Moose Motion. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new, and be sure you have your post notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new content. Anyway, thank you for your support, it's highly appreciated.
So during this video I'll be drawing out a early 90s R32 Skyline, which is honestly one of my little favorite imports out there. I'm a big fan of Skylines because, well, they're really cool to be honest, and who doesn't like Skylines? I mean, let's be honest, they're pretty wicked. I mean, for one, they're a pretty good looking car, and secondly, well, and probably most importantly, they're fast. If I were to take a personal choice, R34 is probably my personal favorite for look-wise, and well, performance-wise, they're definitely not no slouch either. So, however, that being said, the R32 from a technical standpoint, as well as the R33, is a smaller car, so a person, if, you know, really wanted to take one of these cars very seriously, you would probably take one of those newer drivetrains and then stuff inside the, well, smaller car for, well, power to weight ratio, because ultimately that's probably the most important thing about a sports car. At any rate, I'm here to show you how to draw your very own skyline. So essentially what we're going to want to do is start out with a light sketch and then basically work your way up from there, kind of the same way I do my sculptures, essentially just kind of making your lines a little bit more bolder so that way it sticks out a little bit more, and generally sketching it out at the beginning is the smart thing. Don't press too hard, so that way if you make a mistake you can easily erase it and it basically won't leave any weird hard lines or weird white lines when you come to color in the car later. And one other thing I also recommend is having a half decent photo reference, generally because, well, cars generally are fairly, well, there's a lot of geometry involved, for lack of a better term. So you're going to kind of, what I generally like to do is essentially just kind of outline some of the lines as I'm working. Eventually, once you get your good outline already laid down on the paper, you don't necessarily need the reference photo too much. Up until this point, well, really we don't need it anymore. Only when I start coloring is when it's going to be basically used again to help get some of those light reference points. And at the very moment, basically doing a little bit of shadowing, not much. I generally like to save that stuff towards the end because if, well, you hop on that a little too early, essentially you're just going to start smudging everything out, and then it just becomes a big mess, and there's a lot more cleanup than, well, is necessarily. And, well, drawing's supposed to be fun, and cleaning up your smudge markings necessarily I don't find very much fun. So try to keep the shadowing to a bare minimum at the beginning. It can be handy, but just be careful where you lay it down so you don't have any issues. As always, be sure to keep your eyes peeled for Milton the Moose, and if you're the first to spot him and timestamp correctly when he shows up, you will have your comment pinned at the top of the comment section. Anyway, let's get into some coloring here. So there isn't a whole lot of commentary when it comes to coloring here, obviously, because, well, just kind of stay between the lines and try not to lose any of your fine details, essentially. What I generally like to use is Prismacolors, so there will be some blending later on, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. At any rate, what I decided to go with for color scheme was silver and blue, because, well, honestly, one of my personal favorite cars out of the Skyline genre is probably Paul Walker's from Too Fast, Too Furious. Even though Too Fast, Too Furious personally was a terrible movie, it was among the worst out of that entire franchise. At any rate, we won't get into that during this video. We're here to talk about basically the influence, or the Skyline that influenced me for the drawing. At any rate, the car that is in question is R34. Yes, I obviously know that. This is R32, not the same. However, I decided to kind of go with a concept that this is like a baby version of that car, so to speak, seeing how this is an R32. So we're going to go with silver and blue and just a little bit of striping on the side to kind of implement that this isn't, well, the full version comparison to, well, the R34, which has a lot more decals, obviously. And, well, personally, that was kind of a bit ricey and a little bit more time area appropriate for back then, perhaps not so much now. Let me know in the comments below, though, if you perhaps would like to see a little bit more decolage in testicular. I don't know if that's a word, oh god. At any rate, yeah, let me know in the comments below if you would like to see perhaps a little bit more stickers or various other things. But chances are, seeing how things are kind of already down on pencil with the drawing here, we won't be able to add that to the drawing, but we'll probably add that to the 3D render of this drawing later on. And perhaps if you're new to the channel, so just in case you are unaware, essentially I am more of a sculptor than a drawer, so to speak. At any rate, I can obviously draw equally as well as I can sculpt for the most part. But what I'd like to do is kind of make a drawing or concept drawing of the clay car that I'm going to do, and then basically make a 3D version of it, and then make a, well, claymation out of it, and generally take those hundreds of hours and smash it into a wall. And if you would perhaps like to see more of my content involving perhaps stop motion or various other clay cars in question or characters, be sure to check the links in the post description below. There you will find a few of my cartoon shorts, as well as some of the links to the Polaris series, which is the little green car in the background there, which is the most recent clay car to the family, as well as a little AE86 in the background there, a little 73 Torino, a 27 T-Bucket, and a 32 Model A Coupe. And well, personally, the Little Deuce Coupe there, the 32, is probably one of my favorites, mainly because it's been around so long and was, well, the first car in this little clay car collection. At any rate, the reason I'm doing a little R32 at the moment was by popular demand on my TikTok social media, and the next one I'll be drawing is a GT500, which is kind of a, well, unfortunately the person wanted to do a certain name that I will not mention, which is highly associated to a lot of copyright, so we're going to have to work around some design issues with that car in particular. But I'm willing to accept the challenge as long as we just don't use a certain name in question. Everything should be okay. At any rate, how this involves you, the dear viewers, is essentially you're going to be kind of in charge to, well, which car is going to be doing better and which car will ultimately become a 3D model first. So if the Skyline drawing obviously does a lot better than the GT500 model, well, then we're going to build the, well, R32 first, and well, if the R32 does, well, worse than the GT500, well, then the GT500 will be the next car model in question. So now that we've gotten all that aside, we are now on the final stretch of the R32, and basically we're just going to redo all of the lines, making sure that we do not lose any of those fine details now that all the blending and stuff like that is now finished. And essentially all the blending was me running over the gray or silver with a white, basically Prismacolor, to kind of help add some of those, well, highlight spots that the sun's hitting the car and reflecting a little bit more light off the paint than the other various areas. And now we're just going to do a little bit of cleanup essentially, then we can roll in these beauty shots. It seems to go by very quick on the video version in comparison to, well, real life. I think this drawing took about 13, 14 hours, so I mean it was a fairly quick one in comparison to some other drawings I've done in the past. Not the most detailed, but still, this stuff takes a long time, so be sure to smack that like button if you enjoyed the content. Comment below what you think of the drawing, and share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. At any rate, here's your beauty shots of the R32 Skyline, so let me know what you think and, well, cast your vote. So, if you like the GT500 more, be sure to keep your post notifications turned on so you do not miss that drawing video, and, well, be sure to do the same process there to make sure you get your chance to see which car you want to see made first in a 3D render. At any rate, you have made it this far in the video. Be sure to like, comment, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. At any rate, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.